This is the Kitchen Sink WP podcast, episode 500.
I program my home computer.
We have a server crash, 404 error, page not found, links aren't working, system is crashing, system is crashing, system is crashing.
Your old HTML website, barely alive. We have the technology. We have WordPress. A new website, better than it was before. Better, stronger, faster.
We have the technology.
Why, hello everybody, this is Adam Silverly, host of the Kitchen Sink WP podcast. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. All right, I'm excited, and you know why. First and foremost, starting with upcoming events, we have two next week. It is WordCamp Rochester in New York, September 30th, one-day camp, and WordCamp Gdynia in Poland, Dzień dobry, jak się masz? That's right, I speak a little Polish. Also September 30th, my mom, by the way, is from Poland, so one of these days, I'll get to a Polish WordCamp. That'd be cool. If you're in the neighborhood, by all means, swing by, say hi. I mean, not that I'll be there, but nonetheless. All right. So that's the upcoming events. Yeah, that's it for this next week. Moving on, segment one in the news. No news this week whatsoever after all that drama last week. No, I'm kidding. Actually, no news in time for this recording because, to be honest, I am recording a little early as I am traveling on vacation in Ireland with my wife for our anniversary. So there you have it. Moving right along to segment two, the meat and potatoes of this week's episode. 500, episode 500. And yeah, so it's going to take a bit to get through all this, but we're going to go with the top 500 things I've learned over the past, 500 episodes. Starting with number 499, it's about learning. I'm just kidding. I'm totally joking. I'm not going to put that in there. I would not do that to you, my loyal listener. Actually, I wanted to share and discuss what I've seen over the past 500 episodes, or 499 really. And I feel like I've seen a lot. Now, when I started in WordPress, in the podcasting space, there were a plethora of podcasts, but a lot even weren't still active. It's kind of weird. So before we get to that, I just want to share with people who may not know the history of how I started and why I started my podcast. For those who aren't aware, I came into the WordPress space from being a photographer full-time. And I used to listen to mostly photography-related podcasts, along with some business-related podcasts. And then I built my new website in WordPress, of course, for my photography business. And I thought to myself, hey, Adam, are there any WordPress podcasts out there I could learn from for some odd reason? I was interested in knowing more about WordPress. And the ones I found over in the directory at Apple and iTunes, some had already pod faded, but I looked into a few that were still really active. And one was by my friend Dustin Hartzler. He has Your Website Engineer. And recently, of course, we found out on Twitter or whatnot, or X, that Dustin is the longest or the oldest WordPress podcast, just as far as time and when he started versus when I started mine versus some other ones out there. But moving right along. As a matter of fact, Dustin put out the word on his show, to talk to other developers. He was interviewing people to see what tools we would use. And I replied at one point, I said, hey, I'm a WordPress developer. I say that in air quotes. And he invited me to be on his show. And I was really nervous doing it. It's odd to say that I was nervous being in front of a microphone, but I was. But then it got me thinking, hey, I could do that as well. And truth be told, Dustin encouraged me to start one. So I credit Dustin for this journey that I've had for the past 500 episodes. So thank you for that, Dustin. I really do appreciate it. Now, over the years, Dustin and I have become very good friends. We talk all the time, multiple times a week. We do FaceTime. We've traveled together. He's a great guy, great family man as well. He works at Automatic, as you may know. So I also I use blame in air quotes, Dustin for my friendship with Kyle Maurer. Kyle was an attendee at WordCamp Dayton where I was on a panel, and Kyle and I met. And that's how Kyle Maurer and I became really good friends. We've also traveled together, vacation together, also an amazing guy and family man. So fantastic. So that's kind of the gist of how I started 500 episodes ago, which I have not missed a week, which is pretty cool. So there were a few other OG podcasts, the originals out there, and I used to listen to them as well. That was Dradcast, Apply Filters, and WP Plugins A to Z. And only one of those is still around. That's the WP Plugins A to Z. And I wanted to go over real quick a list of shows that have come and gone, for better or for worse. People's lives change. The commitment to getting a podcast out and about is hard. It's not necessarily the easiest thing to do. I mean, it's not hard technically, but it just takes time. So real quick, a rundown of about 19 podcasts in the WordPress space that I've seen come and go, starting with Apply Filters, WP Candy, WP Unicorn Project, that was by Suzette and Natalie, and that was sponsored or kind of owned by Media Temple. Like they came up with it, but then they got sponsored, and then it was a whole fiasco. And now Media Temple, as I mentioned just last week, I think we talked about it, or 2 weeks ago, was acquired by GoDaddy, and they just retired that brand as well. Anyway, Dradcast, like I just said earlier, Please Advise, Office Hours by Carrie Dills. Office Hours was awesome. The Matt Report, that's Matt Medeiros. He's had a few podcasts out and about. One of the OGs. WordPress Weekly, WP Chick by Kim Doyle, WP Casts, WP Elevation, WP MRR, WP Dev Table, Post Status Drafts, WP Blab, WP Roundtable, which Kyle Maurer was the originator of, and he is candidate to somebody else. I forgot who has it, but it's no longer around as far as I know. Between Two Posts, which was Adam Warner, like kind of like Between Two Ferns. WP Mainline. What else? And then Get Options podcast. Kyle and I had a show for a while as well. And I just almost forgot. Bob WP with Woo, all the Woo stuff he's done. He's done a handful of different podcasts as well. So Bob is definitely an OG, and he's still around as well. And then shows that are still around that if you're not aware of, Hallway Chats, Women in WP, WP Tonic, of course, Dustin's show is still around, Your Website Engineer, Plugins A to Z, WP Water Cooler, which currently holds the second place as far as how long it's been around. And Matt Medeiros has a couple other shows as well right now. I'm not sure the most recent title of his show, but it might just be the Matt Medeiros podcast. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, so it's been a lot of shows have come and gone, like 19 or 20 shows have come and gone. Still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9 shows still around. But it's interesting to see what's happened over this last time frame. So a topic that comes up all the time are my weekly topics. People ask me how I come up with weekly topics, and what about covering the same thing as another podcaster. Now, starting with the ideation for myself, my standard answer is I have no idea how I come up with them. That's my standard answer. I'm like, well, I don't know, I just do. Actually, I think it's just about what's going on in my life within the WordPress space. As you may know or not know, I do run a web agency. So I use what I've learned there and kind of bring it over here. So best I can. And I will, of course, sanitize for the protection of my clients, certain elements there. But other than that, I share pretty freely. I say that, but I've also realized that I've delved into the business area, the mindset and mental health as well over the past, 499 episodes. I've shared behind the scenes in that first year of what was going on my own. When I went to take Concierge WP full time, I shared, was it 1, 3, 6, 9, and 12 months, the good, the bad, the ugly, the financials, everything. And honestly, some of those episodes were the best as far as downloads, and I got a great feedback on that. I think it helps. It helps me. It helps the audience. I think nothing wrong with doing that. My mindset has also shifted a lot from the scarcity to the abundance mindset, and I see nothing wrong with that as well. And sharing with what I know to whomever asks is by all intents and measures and purpose, the best thing I've ever done, honestly. I just want to be helpful the best I can. And to be secretive or to hold things back doesn't seem to help in any capacity, in my opinion. So that's just me. Now, about covering the same information, sure. It's an issue sometimes. I mean, sometimes I'll hear Dustin have an episode of a topic that I'm thinking about covering too, and I very well may cover it, but I may push it further out in my calendar just because, unless it's really relevant to something timely that makes more sense, like a core release or something. But, nothing wrong with having a different voice and a different take on things. And I think that perspective is a good thing as well. So as far as my process, I've changed my process. Most recently, about a year ago, I used to record, and I've done a lot of talks on this at WordCamp. You can find them on WordPress.tv. I've done a few live recordings and editing, how I set things up and how I prep and how I plan and everything, and editing, all that. And I used to record into an external recorder, and I used to have this whole process. And now I've gone to 100% digital. And the only reason I did that is because as an Apple guy and a Mac, my laptop has a fan, but there's no more issue there of it kind of kicking on and making a lot of noise. It's the M1 Pro Max, whatever. So I've really consolidated my process much faster now. So I'm 100% digital. If you really want to know more about that, I can tell you about that sometime. Let me know. So what else? The future. Will I do 500 more episodes? Well, that's a good question. I'm not sure. I don't have any thoughts of stopping just yet, though I do have other ideas, and I've had other ideas for other podcasts over the past, 9.5 years. I would like to dig more into the goals and accountability side of things. That would be a totally brand new show. I would not go ahead and just switch the show, I don't think, unless I don't know. I know people have done that. People have changed their show topics and not really ask permission from the audience, I don't know if I would do that or not. I don't think I will. If you're interested in knowing more about goals and accountability, it would be under the Silly Little Goals website and brand that I've built, and it's over at sillylittlegoals.com. Just if you want to know more about that, let me know. I definitely want to do more of that. Will it be a weekly show? Maybe more of a seasons is what I'm thinking. So yeah, that's the future. I don't know, 500 more, that's a lot. 9 more years of WordPress, maybe, but I don't know. So, okay. Overall takeaway. Now, hopefully I don't get too emotional here. It's a labor of love. I really mean that. I know there are people out there that listen to every show. I know there are people there that listen to a show here and there, one a month, maybe less. I don't know. And to both groups of you, I thank you. I really do. When people write in or send me a text, I really appreciate it. I know I have some super fans. I know I have some people who think my bumper should be shorter. It's okay. I appreciate all of you out there. So that's pretty cool. Like I said earlier, I'm only after helping everyone out there as best I can, and knowing what I know and sharing what I know. And I hope that comes through week in and week out. So I thank you for listening to 499, now 500 episodes. If you've been around since day one, if you've just joined me recently, well, go back and listen to a few and see if you like my voice and like how I approach things. And with that, again, I thank you. And let's move on to segment 3 because I don't want to cry on the air here. Tip until the week. It's a tip. And I'm going to keep on the idea of helping each other out. If you listen to WordPress podcasts, go and leave a review for a fellow WordPress podcaster. Trust me, it helps. Perhaps become a Patreon for them. At the very least, send them a short email or a text message. Thank them for their work in the space because it's a labor of love. Most of us, I don't make a living in the podcasting space at the moment. Do I make income? Yes. Do I make a living doing it? No. So there's a cost to this. So if you want to become a Patreon, great. If you want to just thank us. I think that's all I can ask for, and I appreciate you very much every week being here. I really do. And with that, I'm going to wrap it up. As always, if you have any questions, go ahead, send it in via email, adam@kitchensinkwp.com, or use the speak pipe function on the website. You know how to do what you need to do if you want to support the show or sponsor. Thanks for listening. See you next week. Now go out and do some awesome things with WordPress. All right. Bye-bye.